I said it off the top. Duke Johnson is one of those guys. There's a handful of guys. I know you love multiple players from various decades and tons of guys that you have respect for and otherwise, where the emotions swell because of various connections and what they've produced on the field and what they've meant to this football program. But Duke Johnson is near the top of that list. And he has decided that his NFL career is over. He has toted the football at the next level for the last time, and he has decided as a student assistant to now join the Canes.
Yeah, as a grad assistant. So, very talented, young man, definitely someone who is well respected here in South Florida. Went to Miami Norland Senior High School. 5-star All-American, went to Miami. Miami's all-time leading rusher. So this new crop of running backs has a guy who played in the NFL last season and is the all-time leading rusher to ever have worn the orange, green, and white, back there giving them tips and tricks on their craft. You could do worse. But congratulations to him for, having had an NFL career. And obviously all the best as he transitions to the next phase, which, it happens. That's how life goes, guys. Like Mike Rumpf was a first-round NFL draft pick, and then, went into coaching, coached high school. He's here at the, coached at the U, is in the recruiting department. It's a thing that happens. But, yeah, Duke Johnson, man, his legacy in South Florida and with the Hurricanes is huge. Honestly and truly. He's a legend of Miami-Dade high school football. And to Mark's earlier point, he could have gone anywhere in the country. He could have showed up, committed to any team, signed. They would have taken him. But he's a Miami kid. He wanted to be at Miami, said, I'm going to Miami. That's it. I don't care what you're peddling, what you're selling, what your recruiting pitch is here, or what your negative recruiting against Miami is. I don't care. I'm going to Miami. And that mentality is a thing that I've spoken of a lot. And speaking of recruiting and everything, with that wide receiver heretofore never be named, because I saw the pictures of him in his first day at practice wearing scarlet and gray up north. And it almost feels like watching your ex-girlfriend get married to somebody else, because it hurt. He's a specimen. But when I talked about that individual, Jeremiah Smith, that's who, but heretofore, never to use the name again. But when I was talking about the fact of somebody needs to stand on business, somebody needs to say, hey, I know that I'm quoting scripture right here, but hey, I'm walking by faith a little bit and not by sight. I know that this other school has done championship, first round pick, and I'm going to put my trust and faith in this coaching staff, these relationships, this stuff here. The analogy is basically, I need somebody as the number one wide receiver to do what Duke Johnson did. Because, again, he could have gone anywhere in America. I've told the story before, and I love telling it again. If you're new, you're going to enjoy this one. I know Marcus knows the story, is already smiling. I worked at Miramar High School. We played Norland in the opener. Duke Johnson was suspended or whatever. He came in the press box, whatever. And then they made him leave out because there was only coaches and, the timing official and myself, the announcer. That same senior season, my friend and I, the band director, went on, I believe it was a Thursday, might have been a Friday that Miramar had a bye week. We went down to Traz Powell at FIU North or Miami-Dade North to watch Miami Northwestern versus Miami Norland. And my homeboy, Andrew, went to college with the then director of Northwestern's band. So we're sitting on the Northwestern side of Traz Powell, and they completely segregate that stadium because there's fights and people bring weaponry and things like that. So it's hey, one school goes over here, one school goes over there, never shall the twain meet. So we're on the Northwestern side, and Duke Johnson put on a show, the likes of which I have seldom seen. I think he took the opening kickoff back, a punt, 2 rushing touchdowns where he just they pitched it to him or tossed it to him. And remember, Eric Flowers was the left tackle on that team. So Eric Flowers is running out in front of leveling little itty bitty Miami linebackers and safeties while Duke Johnson's going, And it's like it's highlight reel after highlight reel every time he touches the ball. And I'm just being me. Ooh, oh, whatever. Like, and people and again, he plays for not the team on whose side I'm sitting. And there's people looking around and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah. And they had this frozen lemonade at Traz Powell sometimes. So I'm like, man, this lemonade is good. And I did about 2 or 3 times for the first 2 or 3 touchdowns. And Duke Johnson again did Duke Johnson stuff, makes a jump cut, somebody's touching grass, breaking ankles, whatever. And I reacted. And this octogenarian woman, this grandma-aged woman with gray hair, was sitting a couple rows in front of me, and like we were sitting on the walkway, so like across the walkway, a couple rows down. And she gets up real slow, and she walks over and leans down, says, "Young man, that's going to be enough of that." Yes, ma'am. And I not a peep the rest of the time. So I almost got jumped by like elderly people at Traz Powell watching Duke Johnson put on a show. That's the kind of legacy, that's the kind of electric talent he had, because I knew I was sitting on not the New Orleans side, but his talent and ability still got the reaction out of me. So I share that because that's one thing I will always remember about Randy Duke Johnson. But yeah, he's a younger guy. Obviously, he just played in the league. It's a great connection back to the U for him as he begins his coaching career. He knows what he's talking about because he did it. So if any of these guys are thinking, well, why should I listen to you? Go into the football operations center, look at the all-time rushing yardage list, see what name is on top, then come holler at me, because that's who it is. And so keeping it in the Hurricane family, great for Duke. I think it's a good move along with the new running backs coach, Merritt. And we're going to keep it pushing from there.
So among other things with that story, it sounds like you were raised right, because I'm guessing had that person been of another age, you may have just been like, hey, it is what it is, and don't be bringing that here.
I mean, maybe in another situation, but I was deep behind enemy lines, man. Like I was 40 rows up in the middle of the stands on the Northwestern side cheering for Norland. Like sometimes you have to admit that you're wrong, right? And just like, cool. Like I went over the line. I did whatever. That was my time where, yep, you know what? You're right. Heard. Won't be any more of that, man. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. Like I was clearly wrong, and I had to admit it that time.
And I'm going to take my shot that Cam, when he's on your side, he brings a big smile to your face and a chuckle. But when he's on the other side, can poke you like few.
Yeah. Unintentionally, because again, it wasn't even like I was downplaying the West. I was just, really elated at what I was seeing out of New Orleans, but that, oil and water kind of a thing. But yeah, so that's a major move for the U and for Duke Johnson as he goes into his coaching career. So good move all around.